Okay, hi Kelly and anybody else watching. I'm going to answer Kelly's question about, despite the rarity, certainly there are possible serious side effects of this vaccine in some populations. Why, for example, is the vaccine not recommended in people with severe allergies? Okay, so that's a big question. I had to move downstairs to my kids' wall-sized chalkboard because this one just isn't big enough. But I wanted to bring this back to remind you, remember when you have the virus with antigens sticking out, then your body makes antibodies, right? These little antigens trigger what's called an immune response. The B cells and T cells that are floating around in your bloodstream are looking for invaders. That's what they're supposed to do, okay? So you have some foreign body, could be a bacteria, okay? Like pneumococcal, right? You heard of the pneumococcal vaccine, right? So pneumococcal meningitis, same thing. They take the proteins that are sticking on the outside, okay? They purify them. I brought more colors today. Okay, and we'll put star. Okay, so then your body comes along, says, we don't know any of this stuff right here, right? So we better attack that. And in order to attack that, your body has to make antibodies. Those are the Y-shaped proteins that specifically recognize this is a star and it's not normal. Okay. And it attacks it so that anytime it sees that floating around in the rest of your body, it already has a bunch of these made. They hurry up, they grab it, they attack it, they internalize it, chop it up into pieces, and spit it out. That's your immune response, okay? Now, why should people who have severe allergies not necessarily get the vaccine? And it doesn't mean all allergies, okay? For instance, and I think I mentioned this in the last video, the flu vaccine is actually grown, when they grow all the virus in order to purify all these proteins, they grow it in chicken eggs. So if you're allergic to eggs, it automatically says on every vaccine, and any care provider will tell you, if you're allergic to eggs, you should not get this vaccine, because there is a risk that when they're busy purifying these proteins from the big pool of vaccine or virus that they made, that they might grab some egg protein along the way. Okay, that's like contamination, I suppose, but it's all the proteins that they're trying to get. Okay, so if you have a lot of allergies, that means that you have a very active system. Okay, so when your body has allergies, let's say food allergies, because they're the most common allergies these days, right? When your body sees, for instance, I know somebody who's allergic to chicken, also nuts, caused a big stink at a sales meeting one time. So whenever he eats chicken or nuts, his body sees them like this, okay? But it doesn't necessarily have these antibodies ready to go and process and deal with it. What happens is it triggers a huge immune response, okay? Can lead to what's called anaphylaxis, which is your immune system just goes batshit crazy, okay? And it can be deadly, right? Because your body doesn't know, like, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It's not going in logical, chronological order, nice and, stepwise. It's just going crazy, and it can't process everything that's happening so fast. So if you have a lot of allergies, a lot of food allergies, if you have a lot of known drug allergies, then you might want to discuss it with your doctor. That doesn't still necessarily mean that you don't want to get a vaccine. It depends on what those allergies are. But if you are a person that has an abnormal level of allergic response to various substances, then what can happen is when you get the vaccine, not only will your body make these antibodies, but it could trigger you to have a hyperimmune response. That's why people with the autoimmune diseases aren't always advised to get them. They're not always advised not to get them. Again, it depends on, there's a lot of different autoimmune diseases. But for instance, somebody with like, I know somebody with rheumatoid arthritis who has it very, very bad. Psoriatic arthritis is very, very bad. Foods, they eat the wrong foods, and that can trigger them to have horrible joint pain, right? So again, in the instance of the flu vaccine, right? If eggs are something that triggers them to have horrible joint pain, they might not want to get that flu vaccine that's made in eggs, because it very likely could trigger that same type of immune response. Now, granted, it depends on how long do their episodes last. Is, eating eggs, does it make them feel bad for a day, a week, a month? How bad is the level of pain? Does it outweigh the pain that could be associated with them getting the virus, the flu virus, right? Same thing for any vaccine that goes with it, right? Risks, benefits, right? Cost benefit ratio. So that is kind of in a nutshell why people with high allergies or high allergic reactions need to be looked at differently in terms of, is this a good step for them in terms of vaccination? Doesn't mean yes, doesn't mean no either. It all depends on what type of allergies. If you are a person that has a lot of seasonal allergies, you got pollen, you got ragweed, whatever, the chances of this affecting you on those type of allergies, very little. You're more concerned with food allergies or known drug allergies. Like, we know that these classes of drugs, like for instance, I can't take any form of penicillin, right? As a baby, I had a horrible reaction. Can't take any penicillins. There's a lot of people in my age range that once they had some bad reaction, they are automatically got nixed with, you're not allowed to have penicillins ever. And that's because penicillin can lead to an anaphylactic reaction or anaphylactic response. So I hope I answered that. Okay, I'm trying to do shorter videos also because they're easier to upload. Okay, so I will do more questions in subsequent videos. All right, have a great day, guys.